talk about, we've asked everybody else about the gaps where you're not playing so well on offense, and then, spectacular there in the fourth quarter. What's been your, emphasis this week?
Well, just told the guys to start doing some of that fourth quarter stuff a little earlier. Really, when you look at it, we started slow, and a lot of reasons for that. We had some drop passes. Felt like they were playing faster than us a little bit. We had a lot of screens that we felt were set up well, and watching the film felt they were set up well, and just didn't block the perimeter like we wanted to. And there's a lot of reasons why you're moving the ball or you're not moving the ball. And I think that we're a team that's in really good shape. So I think that we wear down teams sometimes, and that helps. But it just comes down to execution and getting in a rhythm. And there are games where we've played well early, and the last couple we haven't. And something that we look closely at. But I don't think there's a magic. Something to look at and say, hey, if we do this, it gets fixed. I think it's just coming out ready to play early. And I'm not sure that happened on Sunday, but luckily we figured it out.
Jay, you guys have done a lot of things well offensively, but kind of the deep ball success hasn't quite been there. The completions, I think, bottom half of the league. Are you guys confident that there's the personnel, especially on the receiver side, to get that corrected?
Yeah.
Or is that something you guys might look for at the trade?
No, for sure. I think we mentioned it after the Charger game. That we missed 3 deep balls, and I think I think the throws were good. We were right there. It was just those things aren't easy to complete 100% of the time. So, but no, we think we've got enough of them on tape. We've done it in the past, and on the game on Sunday, we hit some deep balls. They were more back shoulders, but we've done it in the past, and I don't think there's any reason why we won't continue to do it. So I think it'll come.
I'm sorry, Coach. How do you think Palczewski played, and how important is that going to be to have the line solidified moving forward?
Yeah, let's hope so. I think he played real well. It's a guy that's played on the right side his whole life. Move him over to the left, the way that he played, and it's no surprise. He's one of those guys from the minute we started watching him. In college, he's just, it's a phrase that's not really defined very well, but I think we all know what it means. It's like he's a football player. Like, he is a productive football player. You give him a job and he gets it done. And so, like I said, it's not easy to do what he did, but man, if there was anyone I had confidence that could just flip and play well, it was him. Just the way he's built, the way he's his makeup. So was really pleased, but wasn't really surprised.
Do you have to adjust your approach at all when you've got an offense like theirs on the other side of the field scoring as much as that overstated a little bit?
I don't know if it's overstated. I mean, I think every game you're trying to move the ball and score points. Certainly it's a team that I think it's important that we don't have a bunch of 3 and outs like maybe we've had the past couple weeks, because I think the game could get out of hand if they're scoring like they've scored. Obviously we have faith in our defense that they'll hold up, but I think every week in this league you want to play well. We have keys to victory every week, and it's don't turn the ball over and play well in the red zone. You want to play well, and obviously, some games are low scoring, and it might turn you into a little bit more conservative offensively because your defense is playing really well, and some games can turn into a track meet, and you got to get going and be a little more aggressive. So, going into the game, I think our plan is to play well, and then as as you feel the rhythm of the game, you might have to adjust how aggressive you are, and but that always is the flow of the game type thing.
Coach,
did you guys have a pitch count line for Dobbins when you signed him, and has he expanded that?
I don't know if we had a solid number. We know that we've always been a program that split time with running backs, and he's playing real well, so maybe he's getting a little bit more than we first anticipated. But it's I don't know if I don't think he's getting he's not getting like 25 carries a game. I think keeping those guys healthy is key, and I think they're all playing really well. So I don't know if it's more or less, but he's playing well.
Last one.
Joe, where do you think Marvin Mims has made his greatest strides from rookie season to?
Yeah, I think experience. I think us putting him in better positions. You know, he's a really, really smart, instinctive player, and so you can do a lot more. So I think just expanding his role from just the traditional wide receiver has given him some more, you know, non-traditional touches, and I think that's really helped him and helped us a lot.
What do you see when you're seeing Dak right now, other than a player playing at about as level as you can?
I see a grown-up playing quarterback. I mean, he is playing at a high level. He is putting those guys in the best plays. He's taking care of the football. They're scoring points at a high volume, and he's playing really good football. That's all I can say. I mean, when you watch it, man, I mean, it's what an NFL quarterback should look like. You know, the ball's out quick. He's not taking sacks. He's keeping plays alive. He's taking care of the football. So, I mean, that's what it is. He's playing great.
Javonte, compared to the last couple of years here?
Yeah. Well, that's allowing Dak to play, very well. I told the defense, they got the two receivers and they got the runner and the quarterback, and that's where it starts in this league. Of course, the offensive line, but he is playing at a high level also. He looks like he's got his legs back. Explosive. He's breaking tackles. He's catching the football. He's playing on all three downs. So I'm happy for that dude, man. He's such a great person. Obviously, that's our opponent on Sunday. So we got to get him stopped, but I'm happy for him.
Sean talks a lot about getting on the next play.
Yes.
When you play a group like this that you know is going to get there, is that especially important this week?
Absolutely. I mean, when you're playing the best in this league, you have to move on to the next play, because if you don't, that play can kind of snowball into 2 or 3 big plays. It's a great offense with two great receivers, with an experienced quarterback, with a running game. So it's the NFL dream offense. With a kicker who can make kicks from 50 plus with ease. So it's a challenge for us, but I'm excited about it. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So hopefully we put our best foot forward on Sunday.
Vance, a lot of people will see Riley getting, I don't even call it picked on, but when you're playing opposite of Pat, you're going to get a lot of attention. I don't know if people realize how good his numbers have been. How impressed are you with what he's been able to do, knowing that he has obviously seen more attention?
I think he's got the hardest job on our defense weekly. Obviously Pat's a great player. He's the #1 corner in football. So most of the concepts and most of the scheme for offense, it's going towards Riley. And he's competitive. He's not going to back off. It doesn't matter how the game's going. If he gets a penalty or 2, he's going to compete and do his job, and that makes Riley special. The penalties, we have to correct them. If they're calling them, we have to correct them. Obviously, the DPIs that's a tough penalty. That's a spot foul. So that's always an emotional penalty because it gives the offense an explosive play. But we're correcting that stuff, and we're coaching a clean brand of football. That's our job as coaches, and he's taken to it and he's competing every down.
But on that penalty, that last one that set him up on the goal line, how differently would you have coached that, with where he turned his body and used his arm? Didn't use his arm? I
wouldn't coach it any differently. I think this guy, the officials, they have a tough job. It's a tough job, and to make those plays and make those calls in the split second, that's tough to do. They have an extremely tough job. So I don't put it on those guys. I put it on us to correct it and play cleaner. And again, I think the penalty itself is such a huge consequence. It's a DPI penalty. It's a spot foul. So I think that makes it emotional, and that makes it tough on defenses. It's an incomplete pass. It's kind of gray. We're not sure if it's a foul or not, but it's a 50-yard play. So that makes it emotional. It makes it tough, and that's the issue with it. If it was 15 yards, if it was 10 yards, it wouldn't be so emotional. But it is a spot foul, so that makes it hard.
Coach, without Dre Greenlaw this week, is it a little easier because you've already had Justin play so many snaps over the past couple of years, and you just plug him right in?
Yeah, Justin played last week, so nothing changed for us schematically, nothing changed package-wise. Dre only played about 21 snaps last week, so nothing changes.
Hey, what you come away with in the moments this year when you've had those big plays? Colts had 4 or 5, Giants had a few. What do you come away with?
Yeah.
Are those plus?
I come away with, we have to fix our issues, Leggy, and, it's going to be plays in games where things happen and different motions happen and you make a mistake and, obviously we don't want that to happen, but we have to clean those up quickly and move on. The beauty of being a great defense is not giving those up, and that's the bizarre plays I talked about in the spring. If you're going to be a top-notch defense, you got to prevent those plays from happening and make everyone earn. It's too hard to give away 2 or 3 plays a game, and now you're down, and now you got to come back and all those things. So for us to be a great defense and to be a top 5 defense overall this year, those plays have to go away, and that's been our focus for the entire year. They happen, we have to fix them, but they have to go away.
Do the third and longs really frustrate you? The Giants had several.
Yeah, absolutely, it frustrates me, and a couple were penalties, a couple where he popped the pocket. Absolutely, we have to fix that. We've been a really good third down team, especially third and long. So we have to correct those things and move on.
How much does it help having seen the Eagles with their top 2 receivers and the Bengals now when you see the Cowboys with the 2 top guys they've got?
It definitely helps, with your plan. What's different with this team is the running game's so good. And they're averaging, I think, 6.2 yards a rush in 11 personnel because they're seeing a bunch of shell and they're handing the ball off and they're getting clean boxes. So that's the challenge. That's the mix. You have to, add numbers to the box for the run or add numbers to the coverage for coverage. That's the cat and mouse game you have to play, and that's the challenge.
And Jake Ferguson has been a kind of a sneaky guy, particularly effective in the red zone, 6 touchdowns. It's just another dimension to have to deal with.
Absolutely. Tight ends are always tough, especially on the mix downs, the first, second downs, because you can't really account for those guys outside of having a total plan for them. So it's tough to account for Pickens, CD, the running game, and the tight end. So having one of those guys is also good for you.
Chris, I asked Will the other day after the game winner, what was the number he was comfortable with. He's like, I didn't care because wherever we were kicking it. He said that y'all don't really go through numbers. Does that change kicker to kicker? Because I know that other coaches and kickers talk about, today it's 65 this way or whatever. So is that unique to Will, or?
Yeah, I think the majority of us, meaning special teams coaches, head coaches, kind of have 2 modes of thinking. One is like regular situation, right? First quarter, third quarter, middle of the game. Hey, we get to this line, we're going to have this is our field goal line for the day. It could be a go for it situation. And then we all have our end of the half, end of the game scenarios. Sean and I were communicating at that end of the game situation, like, hey, where do we got to get to feel comfortable? And then, hey, where are we going to get to try it no matter what? I think a good example is the Jets game the week before, right? The situation they were in, they had a 62-yarder. They chose to go for it instead. So we kind of have those lines. Every stadium's different, whether you're playing indoors, outdoors, conditions. But we kind of have our mark to the start of the game and then the end of the half. Like, hey, this is our longest we can, I think Will in pregame the other day hit like a 64 or 65-yarder with some room to spare. So I felt pretty comfortable, like, hey, we get to this point over midfield, like, hey, we're going to try it from this mark. It's kind of our thought process going in.
Coach, what happened with the R.J. Harvey kickoff? Was it as simple as what we all saw, or was there something else going on?
No, there was where he went out of bounds.
Yeah,
just a poor decision. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember. That's actually something we really drill in training camp. We actually do that exact drill, kind of driving balls to the corner. Listen, I think R.J. wanted to make a play, and he got to the corner, didn't realize he was that close to the sideline, and obviously he was disappointed. But that's just something that we'll learn from, move on, and we're seeing a lot of this with this dynamic kickoff. More than ever before, we're seeing a lot of kickoffs near the sideline. The kicker we're playing this week has done a really good job of locating the ball outside the numbers, but a lot of kickers are starting to do that. Getting that ball to the corner. There's that. You're going to let it go and go into the end zone. It's the 20. If it goes out of bounds, it's to the 40. I think RJ in that situation just thought he had more room than he did. It's that simple.
Talk about Devon Key's contribution on your special teams units.
I love you too, GB. It's going to make that a habit now. Devon.
Especially coverage.
Yeah, listen, I would tell you this. First of all, didn't know a whole lot about Devon before I got here. He's been nothing but positive since the day I walked in terms of just off-season, his work ethic, his work habits, great football IQ. We have an expression, 1/11th, that we break down every day with special teams, and he's been like the epitome of 1/11th, kind of the accountability, doing his job. He's made a lot of great plays in coverage. I think he's up there in the National Football League right now. I don't know exactly where he's at, first, second, third, but I know he's got a high number of tackles. Very productive. A little bit of an unsung guy because he does a lot of dirty jobs too in the return game. A lot of times, and he's sprung some good returns for us with some blocks. So really well-rounded. He has our most special teams reps this year. He's our leader in tackles. So nothing but positives to say about it. He's really had a great start to this season, but he's been certainly a leader in our coverage, for sure.
What type of kick do you like the best as a coordinator in the dynamic kickoff? The style of kick, rather, and we know the location.
Yeah.
But how do you?
Well, I think as we're going through this, every kicker's trying to figure out their wheelhouse. I think for the majority of the kickers, they're going to have that kick that, like, hey, we're going to take a chance here and go for it. If it reaches, it doesn't. If it reaches a landing zone, you're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot of them come up short. The most effective kick, as we study this, is the ball that's getting down right near the goal line, because I think some fans don't still realize that if a returner has 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the end zone, he takes a knee, that ball's going to the 20 because he made contact with the football in the landing zone. We're seeing a lot of that. That's been the most effective. What you're seeing is a lot of returners get back and they're fielding the ball near the goal line. Sometimes they're doing a quick check, like, where am I? There's a little cause for hesitation there. As we look through the league, that's been the most effective kick. Now, getting the ball on the ground can be effective too, but as we talked about before, there's a risk reward in that if it comes up short or goes out of bounds. I think the number's like 30 right now of kicks that have either come up short or gone out of bounds. So the number's high. There's about at least 4 or 5 a week. I think that's the kind of the take a shot kick, if you will. But from what we have watched on film, the most effective kick is that ball right at the goal line, because you're forcing the returner to make that decision, and obviously you're giving your coverage team more room there. Now, whether or not you want to go middle, right, left, I think that's game plan.
Will seems to be most comfortable with popping it up to about the 1, 2 if he can, and altitude sometimes takes it on him, but that's generally what his sweet spot.
I think that's an accurate statement. I think and if you look at if you break down a self scout, our coverage, we've been at our best when he's located the ball in that area. Sometimes when we're coming up short, those short balls that get fielded by the returners, that returner's on the coverage team so fast. That's the biggest difference. When you look at this new style of kick, when that guy could catch the ball on a line drive moving forward, and all of a sudden he's on your, they haven't had a chance to avoid yet, or if they avoid the wrong way, boom, the return is up. And so we've done we've kind of studied the big returns. I think there's like 30-something plus, 40-plus yard returns right now in the league, and that's kind of been the common denominator, is poor location, or that guy kind of getting the ball right now, and then missed tackles, obviously, too.
To Mike's point,
Yeah.
do you think about looking for hang time and actually getting some air under it and dropping it down?
Well,
I realize that.
Yeah, no, I would say this. I think there's some kickers, that we've played this year, that if I'm just telling them, hey, the goal is drop it down inside the 5, they're going to feel more comfortable with a little hang time. There's other guys that are like, hey, coach, I can get it down there right now, and I feel more comfortable with a little bit more control of the ball. There's some kickers that feel the hang time, sometimes you lose control of the ball,
right,
where they feel like they can get it. And that's why, hang time used to be the thing, right? Well, now it's become a little bit irrelevant. It's all about location.
Riz, what kind of conversations you'll have when you've got a kicker that has as big a leg as Aubrey does? Is that more than normal weeks with Sean and Vance as far as how dangerous he can be from a certain distance, especially here in Denver?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this. Brandon Aubrey's done an unbelievable job these last few years. Very, very impressive what his body of work. Listen, it's a legitimate question. They've tried more 60-yard field goals than anybody. That's a field flipper, and so they have a lot of confidence. You talk about, your first question about their line for the field goal. I mean, heck, their line is when they get over midfield, they're in field goal range with him. I'm sure that'll be the case as long as the conditions are conducive for that. So, yeah, those are big plays. Where some teams are punting it from the plus 46, they're trying a 64-yard field goal, and those are big deals. So, but kudos to him. He's been outstanding. What he's been able to do. I know everyone's made a big deal about this K-ball thing. He's been doing it. He was doing it before the K-ball change, and so that's going to be a big part of the game, because once they get into over the midfield, now you're really more in field goal rush mode.
Do you think that the changes in the kickoff this year, it's sort of taken us back some years
to where special teamers, special team aces, and guys like Key have a greater impact like they used to before, it kind of diminished?
I think it's a great point. I think two things. One, I think the role of the core special teamer died for a little bit. Died's probably the wrong word. Diminished a little bit in terms of maybe you didn't need as many. There was every team that had those one guy or two guys. I think now when you are going to be in the draft process and when you're looking at players, free agents, their value as core players, as coverage players, as blockers is really going to elevate them and elevate their wealth to the team and kind of what they can bring to the table. The second thing is I think now we're seeing that the returners also are becoming much more valuable. The value in the core player has risen. Now you have to, a lot of teams for years just had one returner on their roster. Now we're looking and having two guys back there that can do it is a big deal. And so when you're looking at these skill players, the running backs, the DBs, the receivers, guys that have returner value coming out of college, I think are going to up their value as well as those core guys.